Perfect recall in the backyard. Every single time. I'd call my dog, he'd spin around and sprint back to me like I was the best thing on earth. I actually thought we had this figured out. Then I unclipped that leash at the park, and it was like I ceased to exist. He didn't even glance back. Just gone, nose down, tail up, completely in his own world. And I'm standing there calling his name over and over, getting louder, getting more desperate, looking like an absolute fool. That was the moment I realized I hadn't trained recall. I'd trained compliance in a bubble. If that scene sounds familiar, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not a bad dog owner. What you've probably been doing is exactly what most people do. Practicing recall in safe, quiet, low-distraction environments, getting consistent results, and assuming that means the skill is locked in. It isn't. Not yet. Here's the thing most training guides skip right over. A dog that comes when called in your backyard hasn't learned recall. They've learned a very specific behavior in a very specific context. The moment that context changes, new smells, other dogs, open space, real freedom, the cue you've been using becomes almost meaningless. In this video, I am going to walk you through exactly what was broken in my approach, why so many dogs blow off recall the second the leash comes off, and the specific steps I used to rebuild it from scratch into something actually reliable. Not just in the backyard, in real life with real distractions where it actually matters. By the end, you'll understand the 3 core reasons recall fails outside, and you'll have a clear framework to fix it. Whether you are starting fresh or rebuilding trust with a dog who's already learned to tune you out. Let us get into it. Let us start with the uncomfortable truth, because I think it is the only honest place to begin. For 2 years, I told myself my dog had a solid recall. And technically, he did in one place, under one set of conditions, with 0 real competition for his attention. The backyard was a controlled environment. The park was the real world. And I had never actually trained for the real world. I had trained for the illusion of it. So why does this happen? Why do dogs who seem to have mastered a cue completely fall apart the moment distractions show up? The answer comes down to something called context dependency. Dogs do not generalize behavior the way humans do. When you teach your dog to sit in your kitchen, they haven't learned sit as a universal concept. They've learned that when you say that specific word in that specific room, with your specific posture and tone, good things happen. Change one variable, a new location, a new smell, a squirrel 30 feet away, and the whole equation shifts. Recall is the highest stakes version of this problem because recall is also the behavior with the most competition. When your dog is off leash in a park, you are not the most interesting thing in that environment. The smells alone are like an encyclopedia of everything that's happened in that space for weeks. Other dogs, birds, people, food scraps, textures underfoot, every single one of those things is competing with your voice. And here's what nobody tells you. The more you repeat a cue your dog is ignoring, the more you devalue it. Every time you call your dog's name and they do not come, you are actively teaching them that the word is optional, that it carries no real meaning. You are training the ignore. This is where I went wrong for 2 years. I kept calling, I kept hoping, and every non-response was quietly poisoning the cue I was trying to build. So here's what I changed, and here's the order I changed it in. Step 1. Retire the poisoned cue asterisk if your dog has a history of ignoring you when you call them, especially outside. That recall word is compromised. The emotional and behavioral association attached to it is already weak or negative. Trying to rebuild on top of that is like repainting a wall without fixing the cracks first. Pick a new word, something you've never used before in frustration, never repeated while they ignored you, never said in a tense or panicked voice. Something clean. Some people use a specific sound, a whistle, or a completely new word. The point is starting with a blank slate. From this point forward, that new word only ever means one thing. Something incredible is about to happen. Step 2. Become the most valuable thing in the equation asterisk. I want to challenge a belief a lot of people hold quietly. That their dog should come back because they love them. That affection and relationship alone should be enough motivation. And yes, relationship matters enormously. We'll get to that. But in the early stages of recall training, especially in high distraction environments, you are competing with stimuli that are genuinely, biologically compelling. Smells that activate millions more scent receptors than yours. Movement that triggers prey drive. Social opportunities with other dogs. You need to stack the odds. That means your recall reward, the thing your dog gets for coming back, needs to be extraordinary. Not a small dry biscuit. We're talking the highest value food reward your dog goes absolutely crazy for. Real meat, cheese, whatever makes their eyes go wide. And for the first weeks of rebuilding, that reward only appears when they respond to the recall cue. It doesn't show up in training sessions. It doesn't come out on walks. It is exclusively, completely tied to that one behavior. You're not bribing your dog. You're building a Pavlovian association so strong that hearing that cue triggers genuine excitement. A conditioned emotional response that makes coming back feel like winning. Short start step 3. Train the environment, not just the behavior asterisk. This is the step most people skip, and it is the reason recall stays fragile. You cannot take a behavior trained at 0 distraction and expect it to hold at a 10. You have to climb the ladder deliberately, one rung at a time. Trainers call this proofing, but I prefer to think of it as expanding the context. Slowly introducing your dog to the idea that this cue means the same thing everywhere, under every condition. Start in the backyard again, but add tiny variables. Train near a fence when a neighbor walks by. Add a toy on the ground a few feet away. Practice when your dog is mildly distracted rather than waiting for them to disengage. Then move to a new location. A quiet side street. A park at 7 a.m. when it is empty. A field with one other person in the distance. You are not testing recall yet, you are teaching it in a new context. The long line is your best friend here. A 15 to 30-foot leash attached to a harness lets your dog experience something close to freedom while keeping you in the conversation if they do not respond. Practice the recall, let them sprint to you, give the extraordinary reward, then release them back to sniff. That release, letting them go back to what they were doing, is part of the reward. You're teaching your dog that coming back doesn't mean the fun ends. That's a massive piece of the puzzle. Short end step 4. Stop calling to control. Start calling to connect asterisk. Here's a pattern I see constantly. People call their dog when they need to clip the leash back on, when it is time to go home, when they are frustrated, when they want the off-leash time to end. And slowly, dogs learn that the recall cue is the signal that freedom is over. You've essentially trained the anti-recall. Change the pattern. Call your dog back randomly throughout every off-leash session. Reward them. Then let them go again. Do this 5, 6, 7 times before the session ends. When it is actually time to leave, the dog has no way of predicting which call is the last one. The cue stops being associated with the end of a good thing and starts being associated with something great happening out of nowhere. This feels almost too simple, but the behavioral shift it creates is significant. You're interrupting the prediction your dog has been making, and that prediction has been working against you. Step 5. Build genuine relationship value now. About that relationship piece I mentioned earlier. Food and conditioning will get you a long way. But the most reliable recall I've ever seen is built on a foundation where the dog genuinely wants to be near their person. Not because they are dependent or anxious, but because the human is consistently interesting, fun, and worth checking in with. Are you engaging with your dog on walks, or are you on your phone? Are you playing with them off-leash, or standing in one spot while they entertain themselves? Do you make eye contact, change direction unexpectedly, hide behind trees, act goofy, make yourself something worth noticing? Dogs that have owners who actively participate in the off-leash experience, who move around, interact, stay present, check in naturally and frequently. Recall becomes less of a trained behavior and more of a default tendency. You've become magnetic. This doesn't replace the training. It amplifies it. You want both. the conditioned response that brings them back reliably, and the relationship that makes coming back feel genuinely good. Step 6. Never call what you can't back up asterisk. There's a rule I follow now, and it changed everything. If I am not in a position to reinforce the recall, if I do not have the long line, if my dog is already deep into a high arousal situation, if I am standing too far away, I do not use the cue. Instead, I move. I run in the opposite direction. I make a noise. I get my dog's attention through environment and movement rather than burning the cue in a situation where it is likely to fail. This is hard to remember in the moment, especially when panic kicks in. But every time you call and they do not come, you are making the next recall harder. Protecting the cue means only using it when the conditions give you a reasonable chance of success, and building those conditions methodically so that eventually, the list of situations you cannot back it up in gets shorter and shorter. The whole process takes weeks, sometimes months. It's not linear. There will be days your dog comes back perfectly and days they seem to have forgotten everything. That's not failure, that's the learning curve doing its job. What I know now, 2 years in on the other side of this, is that reliable recall isn't a trick you teach once. It's a relationship you maintain. It's a value you keep building. It's a habit of showing up for your dog in ways that make you worth coming back to. And when you finally get there, when you call your dog in a busy park and they actually run back to you with that full-body enthusiasm, it doesn't just feel like a training win. It feels like trust. Real, earned, tested trust. That's the thing worth working for. If anything in this video clicked for you, the best thing you can do right now is take one step before your next walk. Just one. Maybe it is choosing a new recall word. Maybe it is grabbing a higher value treat than you normally use. Maybe it is deciding to call your dog back 3 extra times during the session and let them go again each time. You do not need to overhaul everything at once. Recall builds the same way the relationship does, one small, consistent moment at a time. If you want to go deeper on off-leash training and the kind of connection that makes this whole thing work, there's more here on the channel. Start with whatever feels most relevant to where you and your dog are right now. Thanks for watching. If you loved this video, scan the QR code on the screen right now to subscribe and join the Pawsome Life family. Give your dog a belly rub for us, and we will see you in the next video.